Further, we're joined live by political commentator David Vance and Muslim rights campaigner Salman Butt. Thank you both for joining us on the program. Now, David, if we could go ahead and start with you, how significant do you think this ruling is in terms of how Britain regards religious weddings and the marriage thereafter?
Yeah, I think, Jacqueline, it is quite a significant ruling because it is essentially the first time that the British courts or legal system has essentially recognised a parallel legal system, namely Sharia law. Now, Sharia law, of course, you cannot have multiple forms of law. You know, we are all equal under the one law. But it seems that for some reason, this court has determined that it will recognise Sharia and essentially institutionalise one aspect of it, in this case, marriage, and somehow say that that's legitimate under British law. So I view this as troubling, misguided, and potentially very disturbing for the future, Jacqueline.
Salman, what do you make of those comments? Do you consider this as the UK recognising Sharia law in this case?
Well, I happen to have read the judgment, and literally on page 1, the judge says this has got nothing to do with recognising Sharia or anything. This appears to be just something that some people are getting excited about. The judge was talking about recognising it as a void marriage under English common law, which is not exactly the same as Sharia, although this might be a bit similar. So yes, he emphatically made that point that this is not about recognising a Sharia law, it's about recognising and implementing what is seen as a marriage or a void marriage under English common law, not Sharia law. Although the two are very different.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's actually not the case. In this instance, and I can understand, Salman, why the judge has perhaps taken this decision, given the marital debate between this couple. I guess the judge was trying to provide the estranged wife under Islamic law, Sharia law, with the same rights that someone married under British law would have. So what the judge is essentially doing, he is allowing this Muslim couple the opportunity to go round the British civil court system and yet enjoy the same benefits. And that seems to me somewhat prejudicial, discriminating against other people, and fundamentally unfair, even if the judge thinks it was for the right reason. I suggest it's wrong.
You appear again to be ignoring the actual words of the judgment. The judge is saying this has nothing to do with Sharia. This is something called English common law, which has been here for hundreds of years. He's saying under English common law, people who are living together, who appear to be presenting themselves as a married couple, whether it's because they're Muslims or Jews or Sikhs or Hindus or whatever the case, he's talking about the English common law, which has been here for hundreds of years. If you want to call that a parallel legal system, that there's a statute law and a common law, fair enough, that's your prerogative. If we were having this conversation a few hundred years ago, then yes, the distinction between Sharia and, you know, whatever happens to be English law would have been great. But over the years, over the centuries, English law has improved to the level where it's very, very similar to the general aims and objectives of Sharia anyway. So a marriage under English common law is very similar to a marriage under Sharia law anyway, in terms of, before maybe a few hundred years ago, for example, the woman wouldn't even be accepted under English law as a human being or have rights to divorce and so on and so forth. But now we're talking about something which is very similar. It's not exactly the same, but the Sharia law, Sharia has certain, guidelines, certain rights and responsibilities for a husband and wife, or people who are, showing the world that they are husband and wife. And likewise, English common law does as well. So what the judge is actually doing is judging based on the common law. And if somebody actually reads the judgment, like apparently my interlocutor hasn't, sadly, they'll realize it's got nothing to do with Sharia. It would be exactly the same if they were just, Jedis or something conducting some kind of Jedi marriage ceremony. Because the judge is looking at the issue according to English common law.
This brings it back to the core issue for me, which is this. Why is Sharia law tolerated in any regard in this United Kingdom? It should be one law for all people, and that's... So the UK, I'm afraid people can't pick and choose. It's either British law or Sharia law. It can't be both.
If you don't like the fact that, according to our existing law in the UK, some people have the freedom to choose this type of contract or that type of contract, whether it's marriage or buying a house or even hiring a car or whatever. If you don't like the fact that people have the choices and the freedom to do different things under the existing law, you can campaign for the law to be changed. But it's not Muslims here that are trying to call for something exceptional. It's you, my friend.
Avoiding. In this instance, the judge
on page
has
one. All you have to read
please don't
is the first
interrupt me.
page.
The judge has made a specific exception in this case for a Muslim couple. You can't avoid that. I'm sorry, that's just the fact of the matter. And I'm simply saying, I do not believe that anyone is above the law. I think we should all be treated equally. And in this case, for whatever reason, the judge has set a precedent. And as I'm sure you understand, precedents can lead to all kinds of bad situations. And in this case, what we're seeing is a parallel law being legitimised in the UK. I repeat, Sharia courts have no place in the United Kingdom.
Literally, all you had to read was the first page of the judgment to show the judge is saying, almost verbatim, I'm saying, this has nothing to do with recognising Sharia. I don't know where you're getting these fairy tales from, but there's nothing to do with the actual matter at hand. I'd love to talk about Sharia, but this is about English law. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm not bothered with this ruling. You clearly appear to be bothered, and maybe you should take it up with the judge.
But I think anyone familiar with Sharia law might be very bothered about it, because some of us then wonder, what might the next exceptionality for Sharia law proponents be? Shall we expect blasphemy laws to become legitimised? And will you then argue that's nothing to do with Islam either? I'm afraid this is everything to do with Islam, and you don't want to accept that simple fact. What you're doing is you're trying to suggest that I'm the fantasist here. I repeat, I'm sure you can read the headlines and the content of how the media has reported this.
Sudah diterbitkan di Malaysia kini semalam. Kalau tak betul, sila sampaikan maklumat tersebut.
Malaysia kini pula nak pakai.
So either the media is all wrong, and you are right,
gentlemen, I'm afraid.
So either the media is all wrong, and you are right.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid that we are out of time at this point. Salman Butt, Muslim rights campaigner, David Vance, political commentator, thank you both for joining us on the program tonight.